So you have your GUI video players. Let's see, where is that? I should just say open recent file, open recent GUI video player, right? And we're going to, actually we don't want to open, well, I'll leave this open, but we're going to make a new patcher, and we're going to instantiate 4 of those GUI video players as Bpatchers. So Bpatcher, and then go into your inspector and find where it says patcher file, choose, and find your GUI video player. There it is. Okay. And if you set it up, what you want to do is make sure that your GUI video player has some patcher arguments in it so that you can have unique sends and receives. So under here, you see I've set this up with a couple different patcher arguments. That has a unique send. That's the anytime you see a #1, that's a patcher argument. So there's so when you put the arguments in, that #1 will be replaced with whatever the argument is. So if I put the argument as channel 1 or channel A, then it will say send channel 1 or send channel A right here. Over here, up here, it has channel A input, because that #1 gets replaced with the symbol channel A. And then I also wanted to add the ability to bypass the P window here, and so I set that up over here. I created a switcher that could bypass this window and send it right out its unique send instead of going out instead of going through this P window, because the P windows start to really lower your frame rate if you have too many of them running. So I wanted the ability to turn that on and to bypass it. So do you guys all have this GUI video player? If you don't have it, just get it from the website, I believe. If you go to sites.calarts.edu/a/calarts, whatever it is, jitter, and then go to last week's class, which I fixed this link. I don't know if you guys tried to do it the other night and couldn't find it. It was there, and if you ever can't find a link, make sure you look over here in the recent site activity and the directory over here, because sometimes I screw up or forget to put the links. But if I made the page, it will be over here in this directory on the side. So I fixed the link now. If you go to this, class 6 max. I guess I didn't upload the GUI video player. I can.
You did in class meeting 5. Yeah, I just downloaded it.
Oh, it's on class meeting 5? Okay, great. All right, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's slightly different it's the version of class meeting 5. So if you have that file, class5.maxpat, and let's see, open recent, class 5, here it is. Yeah. So this version, let's add these changes, the changes that I did to your version. Come on. I can't resize my window. Oh, I guess I'll hit full screen there. Go away. I got floating windows. All right. Yeah, so this is what we had in class 5. All right. So if we were going to turn this into the GUI video player that I had before, first of all, we didn't need that anymore. we had an input coming over here. Whoops, sorry, inlet. But we also wanted the ability to not have to use that and have unique sends and receives. So we had a receive #1 underscore input. And we want to do, instead of, we don't need this window stuff if you're working on this version. You can get rid of that. We needed an outlet. But we want the ability to not have to use the outlet, so we're going to have a unique send. So #1 is the argument. That one we can just leave it as the argument. So that gets sent out there. Okay, so, and if we want the ability to bypass this window, let's see, what did I do? I don't have this one in my notes for some reason. Okay, here we go. So we want to copy this code over here. So we got #1 receive, right? Because I need to be able to send the bypass signal through some way. But I want it to be, it needs to be unique for every instantiation, so I have to use that argument, bypass. So that argument, I mean those messages for this instantiation will come in through there. I'm going to have that go to a toggle. And then we're going to select 1. Whoops, not 2. That way it sends a bang. And send this back up to the top. Oh, I know why I did this bang. For a second I was like, why am I sending this bang? This bang is so that it rebang. If you're doing an image, it will send the image frame through the movie player. It'll send a bang to the movie player. Send #1 input underscore input. So that's going to go back up here to the top. So what that does is if you have an image file here and then you bypass it, this will rebang out that image out the matrix so that it doesn't get stuck, so that you get that image sent out as the last thing that it did before the thing was bypassed. Great. So then we need, we need a switcher up here. We need to put in a switch. So G switch 2.
Sorry, does that say set 1?
Where?
After the toggle.
Select 1, SEL1. G switch 2 is this nice little graphical switch. And the way this works, we can put the input into the input, the right inlet. The left inlet is for changing which outlet. The right inlet is for the input, and the left inlet is for changing which output it's going to. So I put it in the right inlet, and then this toggle is going to go to the left inlet. So that will be changing which output that's going to. Go ahead and try that out. Click this toggle, and you can see how that moves. It's a nice little graphical switch. It tells you, you know exactly which output is your signal is getting sent to. So by default, it comes out this one. So by default, we want it to go ahead and include that P window. But then if you switch to the bypass mode, then it will bypass this P window and go straight to the send out. Guess we also probably want to have it go to this outlet. That's something I didn't do before, but I should have, in case we're using this outlet. Although I don't want you guys to use these outlets. I probably shouldn't even put them in the code, but it makes this more useful if you want to use it in a quick and dirty way and just use the outlets and not instantiate things. Arguments. Okay, so now when that gets bypassed, then you can see the matrix that's coming out of this movie player will go right around this and go right out. And then it won't include that movie player. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to add unique 1 on this. At unique 1. That improves performance. Because especially on those really, if you do any of those DV files like DV ducks or DV kite, those are high resolution files, and this will improve your performance. You get a better frame rate if you have it on you only sending out unique frames, because it just skips extra frames, and you won't be doing the same calculations more than once for no reason. All right, so we got that in there. Was there any other differences? Let's see. I think that's about it. Oh, I had this thing about read. What was that doing? That was sending a bang out. Also, okay. So, because of this unique frames, I don't know if I need that. I'm gonna leave that off for now. Don't bother with this stuff over here. Just leave this like this, and see if I need that. So save that as GUI video player. Projects. I'm going to call mine 2. Okay. So then now we have this new file, right? And we're instantiating this GUI video player on a with a Bpatcher. And down here you go patcher file choose, and I'm going to choose GUI video player 2. Great. Oh, this one's a little different. That's all right. So we're going to have 4 of these, 1 for each channel. Okay. And we have to put patcher arguments in them to get unique sends and receives. So I'm opening my inspector and clicking on the first one, and I need to add some arguments. So there was only 1 argument, and I just did different versions of the same argument. Whoops. So go in here, go down to arguments, and the argument was what what we wanted to call. Why is it not letting me do it? Yes. There it is. Yeah, the oh, the Bpatcher isn't opening in presentation mode. Okay, so go back into the movie player and right-click somewhere on the canvas, the GUI video player file. Right-click somewhere on the canvas and open up the Patcher inspector, and then there's an option in there called Open in Presentation. Make sure that that's checked. Anyway, here's where I add arguments, and I need to add the argument. I'm going to do channel 1 for this player, and then down here, arguments channel 2 for this one, arguments channel 3, and oh wait, that's 4. Somehow I got turned around on which one I had selected. This one should be channel 3. This one is going to be channel 2. Whoops, wrong thing. There it is. What? Do I only have 3 of them? Is that what's happened?
Looks like it.
I thought I had 4, but apparently I only have 3. No, wait, now I have 4. What the heck? Oh, okay, what is this one? Does this have any arguments? These windows are just too small. I guess I got to zoom out even more.
Was Bpatch we're looking for, Jackson? I'm sorry.
What?
I think I missed a couple of steps because I just got totally turned around. What are we?
These are all Bpatchers.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, I see.
There we go. All right, that's channel 1. That's channel 2. That's channel 3. And that's okay. I got it. Somehow I got it. I just confused myself. Okay, so now these all have unique sends and receives, right? We know that they're receiving on channel on the name that we gave it on that argument. So I can go over here and I can put a receive channel 1. Argument, where did I put it? Down here under args, under patcher. So on the, if you click on the Bpatcher inspector and then open up inspector for that Bpatcher, there's a thing down here, arguments, and you can hit edit and put the argument in there. Got it? Cool. So I can just put receive channel 1. There's a good way to check that it's working. If you double click this receive, it will tell you where there are sends named that. And it says, look, there's a send under this GUI video player 2, meaning one of them has that argument. So you're good to go. And so we want to receive channel 1, a receive channel 2, a receive channel 3, and a receive channel 4. Great. And then, let's see. Then we're going to have that go through the mixing stage, right? So we need to multiply it. Well, here, let's start by, let me put some movies in here so that we can make sure that this is working. Start, I don't see it. Oh, maybe it's because of that, that bypass thing that I have to. It should be starting automatically without the bypass, though. Hold on. Let me see what's going on. New view of. Yeah, it's bypassed. I think maybe it was just because it's that switch saved on the state that I had it in. And I had it switched. I thought that wouldn't happen, that it always goes to its default state, but I guess whatever the last one you had it in when you saved it, that's the outlet that it was set on. So this should fix that just by putting it back on channel 1 and saving it. Maybe not. What the heck? Oh, right. I didn't save it on the, I only opened a new view. I didn't actually edit it. So I have to actually open the file. Player 2, GUI video player. Switch this over and then save it. There. When you make a change, it will stop all the movies that are playing. Because it's reinstantiating those with the new updated changes. So this should work now. Let me try it. Yeah, b-ball works, blading works, great. Okay, cool. So countdown we'll do, and a 4th one, ozone, great. So I have these channel 1. Let me just pass these through a P window really quick to make sure that it's actually sending. Jit.p window. Zoom in a little bit, sorry. God, this low res is killing me. Don't need that. So yeah, good, that's working. And if I passed it from channel 2, let me just make sure that one's working. Great. Cool, so I'm gonna assume the others are working the same way because they're all the same file. Great, so if we need to add all 4 of these together, the first thing we need to do is multiply them by the slider value. We need a slider, right? And then we need a jit.op at op multiply, or there's a shortcut for that. If you're doing a simple op like that, you can just say jit.multiply or jit.times. It's a star. And that's the same thing as doing jit.op at op multiply. So, we need to scale this output, right? Because its default scale is 0 to 127. So we're going to go 0 to 127, remap that to 0 to 1. Remember, that's the easy way to remember it, is that the first 2 values are what your input range is, and the second 2 values is what you're scaling it to. So if you just read it as a sentence, I'm scaling 0 to 127 between 0 and 1, then you'll always remember what they're doing. What those arguments are doing. So now if I put a P window down here to see what's going on, we should be able to, and attach that there. I should be able to see this going from black to full brightness. Right, okay, cool. So we need to do that on each one of these. So let's copy this code. Everything but the receive. I'm going to duplicate that, drag it over here, duplicate that, and duplicate that. And then make sure to reconnect these things that need to get reconnected. So that will multiply each of those channels, and then we need to add the results up. And I gave you that jit.expression that does it all in one fell swoop in the last class. Here we'll do it again. It's jit.expr, and then you put in the expression, which is in bracket, open bracket, 0 plus, no spaces in this at all, in bracket 1 plus in bracket, bracket 2 plus in bracket 3, and then add an attribute, which is at inputs 4. That will add all 4 of those together. You could do you could do 3 different jit.plus objects, but this is more efficient and looks better. Here's something to know that sometimes makes your patches way cleaner. You can adjust the size of these objects. You can make them smaller and make them go on more than one line. Or sometimes what I find really useful is to make them wider than they need to be, so that each one of these inlets lines up with the objects that you're attaching it to. And then it makes all those lines not cross, and it makes it nice and clean. So I'm just going to line these up like this. Okay, so now I'm adding these 4 together, and then, Steam? No, I don't want to play Half-Life right now. Then go to another jit.p window to display the results. Why isn't it working? Is yours not working too?
Actually,
I think I might have missed a. I think I might have to say @expr or something. Hold on. I think I might have done the syntax wrong on this.
yeah, I think you did.
On the jit.expression. Hold on. Let me open the help file. Jit.expression. Yeah, @expr. I should have said instead of just putting the expression. So jit.expr @expr and then that stuff. There we go. And now it works. Cool. So now I can add some of that. I can add some of that on top of it. Some of this. And some of that. And you can see the result over here. Yes. All right. Let's see what's going on with yours. And your GUI players won't play? Okay. What's so is it? Yeah. Do each of your Bpatchers have an argument? So your argument there is wrong. Go to Edit, Argument, and there should be just channel 1, no S channel 1. And then channel 2, yeah, make sure that you conform all of that. And make sure it's the same as what you put as the receive. So if you put capitals, put capitals. Yours aren't playing? Did you put in a, did you try choosing a file up there? Go back to the Bpatcher. Choose a file. Okay. Yeah, so open up your Bpatcher. Right, so it's this. And now save it. Now try opening default again. So if you want to see what's actually going on in this version of it, I can go to Object, New View, and I can see that. And this way, I can check how these are working. Bypass input. That's right. As long as I connect it to okay, that's right. Send channel 1. Did you play the skill? I think it's because the default is already closed. Oh, I bypassed it. So if I only mixing is probably the message. Mixing because it will need to be. Oh, I bypassed it. Because if possibly. Okay. I guess if you messed up something with the read messages. Yeah, you're right.
It's like always the stupidest thing. Like,
Like today, I did yours, and I was like, Bpatchers are working. You just expanded the windows, like, oh, it's work. I said 2 hours. Like, goes back, you got this thing, like, what did I miss? Oh, I missed it. Great.
Which one was the last one you changed?
I think Peter
Is
is
this what you
already
instantiated here?
If you're filling the copy, so I think that's called
it's textual, yeah.
Yeah.
I even Chuck right before, but like, I start my day with Chuck, which is text space, and then I go to this.
Does your brain know?
Oh yeah, I feel better about this than Chuck. Chuck I think it's so weird. At least you can kind of see what things are doing in jitter. You can see the relationships. It's like illustrative. So,
No, that's fine as long as there's no
everyone goes and
spaces in
checks
it.
like these cool compositions, and I'm just like, I made the beeps you told us to make. Arduino is easier though.
Yeah, but when troubleshooting is like.
Like trying to
The
find.
console monitor or
Yeah,
whatever it's
try
called
that.
really helps you out though, I find.
Right, what's
So
it
maybe
doing?
there's one comma missing in this patch.
Yeah, I'm just really
Oh yeah,
looking at
check
What
this
did you
the
do
same
now?
way, like all before there.
Oh, it's just not
You
showing
just
up
have to
down
figure
there.
out where.
So, first of all, let's attach this and make sure that these different channel things are working. So let's try attaching this straight to here.
You can go to music.
See if this is outputting anything.
I'm just trying to learn these.
That's working.
Learn to program for the time.
Never too many.
I
Never
feel
too
like
many.
everyone like, oh, not.
That's
I learned
working
that by
too.
this.
Alright,
Are you
so
doing
this
school
is
program or-
not working for some reason. Sure. Oh, it's working.
How does it work?
That you work.
Yeah.
Easier.
You have to change something on your slider so that it actually puts a value in
You have to find some cool job.
there. Yeah, it's working. Okay, everybody else working? Great. All right, we're running out of time. Darn it. All right, let's see. So now that's basically the patch. What we haven't been able to do now is we can't mix still images right now, right? If I go to Chili's, nothing works. Also, another thing that happens is if the first player is set to a image file like Chili's, or it's set to a video and you just stop it, nothing gets added down here. Why do you think that is? Nothing is getting passed anymore. The calculation isn't being triggered.
Because you're missing one.
It's because of the way yes, that is definitely it. But beyond that, it's more specifically, you're missing the input from the first inlet. If you hover over the inlet for JIT it just says matrix in. Never mind. A lot of them will tell you JIT expression works the same way as regular EXPR, regular expression that you use for math expressions, and they both operate the same way, which is that the calculation is triggered by the value coming into the furthest left inlet. So if nothing is coming through, if there is no matrix being passed into that first inlet, then none of these get added together. So if there's a still image file, and we've also in our still image file we've said unique 1 in the movie player. So that means it's only going to output a frame if there's a new frame. So that means it's only going to ever output the frame once, because an image file never changes. So every subsequent frame would be the same frame. So it won't ever output. So you'll only get one bang, and then you'll never get any more bangs coming out of that first inlet if you have a graphic file. And then the calculation is stopped being triggered. So what we need to do, first of all, we need to have the first thing that I've noticed to solve displaying image is that you have to have a metro sending bangs into the movie players to have them display still images. Because a movie player, every time you send a bang into the movie player, that causes it to output whatever frame it's on. If it's on a movie player, if it's playing a movie file, then the frames are automatically updating, and that's something new as of Mac 7. It just automatically sends those out unless you override that with the message @automatic 0. But the behavior in as of Max 7 is when you play a movie file, it will automatically output its frames based on that movie file. If you play an image file, it's only going to output the frame once, and it won't continue outputting the frame unless you send new bangs to it, right? Also, because we said unique 1, because we're trying to improve the performance of higher resolution video files, that at unique 1 then actually counteracts that strategy of sending bangs into the movie player, because even though it's telling the movie player to output that frame, you've also said only output unique frames, and because you're playing a still image that doesn't change, the frames aren't unique, so it'll only output once. So what we need to do really to be able to have the best of both worlds, meaning to be able to have unique frames only and to be able to output more than one sequential frame when it's an image file, is to capture the matrix as it comes out of the video player and then resend that matrix instead of resending things from the video player. And I'll show you how to do that. First of all, we need to send bangs into the video player so that we can even see images, right? So to send bangs into the video players, we need to have a QMetro object. QMetro. Here's a new thing that I found out about QMetro. You know, originally the default way to do it is to put in an interval number, and that's how many milliseconds between bangs, right? So if we wanted 60 bangs a second, we'd have to put Metro, 17 or something? 17 milliseconds, like 33 is for 30 bangs a second, and half of that would be 17-ish or something. But if you wanted 60 hertz, you can actually just put 60 hertz in. 60 hertz. It accepts max time formats, and that's one of the time formats. You could also put quarter note in there. You could say 4T or whatever, and then you can actually in the max settings up here, you can specify what a quarter note is, what tempo a quarter note is. So that can be really useful, especially when you're trying to sync with music and stuff like that. That might have different tempos. But in this case, we want to set 60 hertz. So I'm going to put QMetro 60 hertz. Actually, I want to put this up at the top. I'm going to bring everything else down. And I'll put this up here. I'm going to need a toggle to turn it on. And let's make sure it's working. Yeah, all right. And I need to send this into each of the inputs for these players, right? And they had unique receives, right? And it was the argument underscore input. So that's for the way I've instantiated these is ch1. So I can say send ch1 underscore input. And then I need to do that for ch2. 3 and 4. And I'm going to be sending these into each of those. And so now when I turn this on, now it will bang out images. If I go to Chili's or whatever, it will bang out images. It still has the problem of, because like I said, it still is not, it's no longer adding these together. It did it for one frame of this chili and then stopped because of that at unique 1, right? That I just explained. So to get around that, what we need to do is actually capture the matrix as it comes out from here. So we need to do that. We can store a matrix in a jit.matrix object. The default values for this will automatically adapt itself to the dimensions of whatever image file is going through. So we don't even need to put any arguments about what size this matrix is or what kind of matrix it is. We can just send it straight in, and it just adapts itself to the matrix that comes into it. And then matrix out. Yeah. Oh, right. So then what we have to do is we want this to actually store this matrix but not pass it through until it gets a bang. And to do that way, because otherwise if I don't do that, what I'm going to do is when an image file comes in, it's going to get stored in this matrix file, and then we'll have to send bangs into this matrix JIT.matrix object to get it to send that image file out over and over and over and over again, right? But if we're sending a metro into that JIT.matrix object, and we have a video file that's sending bangs from just from the nature of it being video and it's sending multiple frames sequentially, then you're basically getting double bangs into that JIT.matrix object, because you're getting one set of bangs from the video file and another set of bangs from the metro. And so you'll be double banging that matrix, and then you'll be double calculating on your JIT.expr for no reason, and that will lower your performance for no reason. So in order to keep this from outputting any frames unless it gets a bang, we have to give it the argument of @through 0. How did I find this out? I just went to I just looked at the inspector for this object, and I went down here and I was looking for anything that had to do with either automatic or something like that, and it didn't have anything called automatic, but it had this argument called through right here, and I experimented with that and found out that that's the way you make it not send out unless it gets a bang. And then so then it won't send its matrix out, but it stores it there, and then we just send the QMetro from up here. We send that into this matrix, and then it will send that matrix out over and over again. So if I choose a new image file, let's see, fuzz circle. Now it's out. Now you can see now it's mixing this, and I can turn that up and down even though it's a still image. So I need to do that for every single one. Instead of having a whole bunch of lines going everywhere from this QMetro to each one of these JIT.matrix, what I'm going to do is have it go to a send. I'm going to have this send called send metro bang. Put that over there. Send metro bang. I can get rid of this. Receive metro bang down here. And it's going through. So I can conform this strategy to the other channels really quick. Just grab, I'm just going to grab all of this and duplicate it. Actually, I'm going to delete this stuff. I'm going to grab everything here, duplicate it, drag it over here, duplicate and duplicate, and whoops, I forgot to delete that old stuff, and then just change this receive to channel 2, channel 3, and channel 4, except for I messed up and missed some things over here. That's the old one. There we go. And then make sure you reconnect these to the inputs. And it's working. Great. And now I can, just to make sure, I can load a different image over here, like chilies. And I can adjust how much chilies are in there. So that's what I did for mine. And then I also sent just to see what my overall FPS was, I put a jit.fps GUI and attached it to this P window down here, the result P window. And then that's what I'm getting, almost 60 frames a second, which is what I specified up here. And then, oh, we didn't do our bypass thing. Well, that's really easy. All we have to do is have a toggle up here, and then send that to a send. And what was it that we did? I think it was channel 1 underscore bypass. It was whatever the argument was underscore bypass was the sent, the receive. And if I wanted to check that I did it right, I can double click on the send, and it will list it lists this, that there is a receive named channel 1 bypass in the GUI video player. So that means I did it right. And now you can see if I choose a video file, if I choose a video file so that I can tell, and I click on the bypass, it stops that video file, but it's still playing live down here because we've gone around that P window, and so we're not using any resources for that P window now. So all we have to do is duplicate that and change the channel 1 to channel 2 for the second channel, and so forth for the other channels. Any questions? Great. Cool, so let's save that as class 7.0, 4-channel mixer. All right, let's talk about model view controller. Yay, model view controller, finally. Do me a favor and go to Wikipedia and put in model view controller. So, MVC expresses the core solution to a product. Ignore most of what they say here. Look at the picture. This is the most important thing. The way model view controller works, and this originally was a paradigm designed to make modular and functional desktop applications, but it's really become the most popular uses in website and web applications. The way it works is you keep these 3 different things, the model, the view, and the controller, you keep them as separate as you can. Ideally, they're like different little applications that are talking to each other. And the way it works is the user sees this view, and the view is dynamic. It changes based on what they want to do. So if you have a 4-channel mixer, for example, and you want to, on each of those channels, you want to have different effects, but you want everything to be, you want your Bpatchers or external patchers all to be the same file, right? So that you don't have to have several different versions of a file, one for different sets of effects. You can instead set up all your code so that when you change things in your view, or actually you change things with a controller, that changes, that updates, that goes through this model, and the model updates the view so that you end up seeing new options based on what you're doing. So you see the view. When you interact with the view, you're actually interacting with a controller that you don't see. You think that you're interacting directly with the view, but there's actually a controller underneath it that's dynamically changing the view. And then that controller sends its control parameters, control values. You know, if you say your controller is a bunch of sliders, right? It's going to send those different values, 0 to 127, through the model. The model is keeping track of what you're doing right now, what mode you're in, whether you're in editing mode for parameters of effects, or whether you're affecting this set of effects on this player, or whether you're affecting this set of effects on a different player. That's what the model is doing, is keeping track of where the controller values are getting sent, what the description of those controller values are, that kind of thing. And it's in a big circle like that. So it's all everything is controlled through the model, and the model updates what you see, updates how the controller is sending things. So it's very kind of confusing, but it will get more clear as we look at it. The benefit of this is that it becomes very modular. You have an engine that drives everything, and then you have these different controls and views that get changed based on what you're doing. So that way you don't have to change your code or have several different versions of something. You can do multiple functions with a single patch. Again, it's really hard to explain. It's a lot easier just to show you guys. So let's look at some basic model view controller interface strategies. So the idea is we want to be able to have a controller that changes where the control values are being sent based on our model, and also controls what is being displayed, or a description about what those controllers do. So we have sliders, right? So say we're going to start with sliders. New patcher. Come on. New patcher. There we go. And save this one as 7.1. We're going to call this interface issues. So say we have 3 sliders. And we want, because we're using this model view controller paradigm, we want these sliders, these 3 sliders, to be able to control 3 different effects. The same set of 3 sliders change and control 3 separate different kinds of effects. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we would probably want to have some kind of description about what each slider is, and have that description change based on what mode or what effect we're sending the slider value to. So the first thing is we use comment boxes a lot to title things. If you want to dynamically change what's in a comment box, you can use this You can use the message, not an object. You can use the message set and then whatever you want there to be in that box. So if I was say I'm making parameter values for zooming and blurring, right? So I could say set zoom, and then if I hit this, then it makes that into zoom, and I could have another message over here that said set blur, and if I sent that, and then I could change this from zoom to blur, right? But what if I want, instead of having a whole bunch of different messages, each setting it to different things, there's a better way to do it. I can instead, what do those both have in common? They both have the word set in common, right? So I don't need to have that in every single message. I can instead just add that to whatever message I'm sending into it, add the word set before it. So to do that, you can the object to add things before a list is called prepend. And we're just going to say, we're going to prepend the word set. So prepend set. You'll use prepend set for a lot of things, more than just comment boxes. A lot of things take the word set as a way to set a value for that object. And this is a way to, now I can just have this message come in, and it could be zoom. It could be anything. Right? So basically we want some dynamic way of having these messages get populated, get changed using this prepend set. We could, if we were affecting 3 different sliders, we could have a collection of set. So say this first one is talking about amount, and then the second one would be set something like X offset, message set Y offset. And we could have comment boxes that are hovering over these sliders. Here, just to make it easier, let's make them horizontal sliders. All you have to do is change the aspect ratio. And I'm just going to duplicate that one. And now I can just take this and put it over here. Set amount, X offset, Y offset, and then have a different set of set messages. Or I could have used my prepend also. What's our second set of messages going to be? I can't remember. Like something like, I don't know, intense. This is for blur. Intensity. Depth. And width. What was that?
How did you get yours to
Send the writing.
Right, sorry, in the slider boxes it says,
Did you attach it to the slider? Don't attach it to the slider. You're actually attaching it to a comment box that you're putting on top of the slider. So you could have one, when the controller when you make some kind of interaction with the view that says you want to now stop affecting the zoom controls, and now you want to start affecting the blur controls, it could then, you know, hit these buttons and change the labels on each of these, right? But this is a really awkward way to do it because I end up having a ton of these messages. Even if I use prepend to get rid of the set, I'm still having 6 messages, one with each one of those titles, and I'll have to like bang them individually. There's a way that we can store a number of parameters and give it an index number, and that will work a lot better. You'll use this for a lot of things, and it's called call. Call is short for collect, and what it does is it collects a number of parameters or messages and stores them under an index value, which can be a number or a word. So let's try this call. And the open up the help file for call, and it shows you a quick it shows you how you store things in this. So click each one of these buttons, 1 yada yada, 2 yada yada, and 3 yada yada. Then go ahead and click this open, and you can see how it's stored them there. 1 comma, and then followed by all of those different values that you stored, and then a semicolon, 2 comma. So that's the index number or the index symbol is this first thing here, and then everything else that will get spit out is after that. And that gets stored as a text file in the call object. And then you can recall that by giving it the index number over here, and it's on print, so I have to open my Max window. But you can see if I recall 3, now it's everything I pushed over here, the 910.11.003 and more comes out there. So we can use that to populate all of these with one object, all of these different descriptions or whatever. How do we store that? Well, we just saw it on the help file, but here it is again. Basically, you can send a message into the call object that the first thing is the index symbol. So like here, let's just do this for an example. These don't necessarily have to do with what we're going to do. Zoom anchor, 1 zoom anchor, 2 blur width, right? And now go ahead and click 1, click 2. Now I can send either a 1 or a 2 into that. And I want to prepend set for the message that comes out the other side so that I can actually populate a comment box like this. So I'm going to drag this stuff over here. And now that I've clicked 1 and I've clicked 2, now I can click these index numbers, and it will retrieve those values. You can also do something, you don't have to use numbers. It could be delicious test 1, test 2. Send that into the call. And now instead of sending 1 or 2, I just send the word delicious. And did I mess it up? Should have worked. Hold on. Why didn't that work? Hold on. Maybe I have to do something different. Well, this worked in my thing, but it doesn't work now. Well, you can also edit them here in the title. Let's just go ahead and double click on that. Put in delicious, comma, test 1, test 2, and don't forget the semicolon. And then say save. And now, there we go. Now it's putting it in. I don't know why it didn't store right. I'll have to figure that out. So that, just delete that since that didn't work.
Again, how do we get inside the?
Double click on the call if you want to see its contents. And it opens up an editor. You can use this editor, as I just showed you, to add things to your call. I've had a lot of problems with this editor. It's a very buggy text editor. So I don't suggest actually using it, especially if you're, I mean, it's fine for doing these little things, but if you're doing a huge call, and this, I've done shows where I have a call that has, well, we were doing things with a call that had time code. So the time code was getting spit into the call, and whenever a time code matched up with one of the time code indices in here, then it would spit out, you know, like subtitle files, subtitle text. So I had 600 different entries in there. And when you're working with like 600 different entries, this text editor can really give you problems, especially if you start copying and pasting and cutting and stuff. It really gives. So what I do is just, if I'm going to edit a really large thing, I just select everything in here, copy it, bring it into a text editor that I like just Text Edit, or Text Wrangler is a great one if you want to download it from the App Store. And then make your changes, save a version. That way you always have backup versions, and then paste that into the call, and then save it. That way, not only do you not have the bugs that's in the call text editor, but you're also saving backups of those calls, and you'll want to have backups when you're dealing with really complex call objects. So that's that. So if we, let's see. If we wanted to use this to populate these slider values with appropriate parameters for the effects that we want to change. Well, first of all, let's make a little menu to switch between the different effects, between zoom and blur. So make a U menu, and then go and open the inspector for the U menu, and go over here to what is it? I think it's called items. Yeah, items. Just hit edit under items. Get rid of that and put zoom and blur. I think you just put a carriage return between them. Nope, I'm wrong. What is it? Maybe you have to have a comma. Items. Where'd my items go? Oh, here it is. Try zoom, comma, blur. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So this U menu can give us not only the text, but also like a number, an index number. So we can use that index number to recall something from the call. So let's make a new call over here. And let's name this call. So that way we can, oh, I forgot to show you that. So we had this call over here, right, with the zoom anchor and all that stuff. Give it a name. Do a call and then add a name as a symbol. Just call this sum underscore name. It's probably going to, when you reinstantiate it like that, it's probably going to lose the values that's in it. So go ahead and click on this 1 and 2 again. We're going to lose the delicious stuff, but that's all right. I don't care. Now we can actually duplicate this call with the same name, or we can make a new one and say call some name, and it will automatically have that data. It will recall the same data because it has the same name. We can even, I believe you can even send a message into it telling the call now what its new name is, and it will then retrieve that. Although I don't see that in here, so I might be wrong about that. No, that's all right. All right, yeah, but anyway, that's just what I wanted to show you, is that you can come over here and you can now the same, if it has the same name, then it will have the same data inside. Right. So we're going to name this so that it is different than all of our other calls, and we make sure it has a unique name. Let's call this param underscore values. Okay, and we need to populate it. I'm going to do one amount, right? Wasn't that one of them? I think it was amount X offset. And if I wanted to have spaces, I need to make sure to enclose it in quotation marks. X offset. Then it will treat it as a single symbol instead of two different messages. Because normally when it sees a space, it treats that as a new item in a message. In a list, rather, sorry. X offset, Y offset with quotations around it. And then I could just have two different messages the way I had up here, but I'm going to put it all as one message, and I'll separate that with a comma. And what that does is when you send it out, it will first send everything before the comma and then send everything after the comma as a separate message. It's a way of basically putting two messages into a single message box. Comma 2, right? That's the second index number. Intensity. Oh, whoops, I don't need a comma again. Intensity, depth, width. And now send that into the call. Whoops. Into the call. There we go. Now double click your call and it should have both of those in its input. Right? Now we can take the first output of this U menu, which is the item number chosen. And if I choose the first one, it's actually going to give me a 0 because it starts numbering from 0 up. And our call, the first index is actually 1, not 0. So we just need to add 1 to whatever value is coming out of this. So add a +1. This is something you'll have to do all the time too. And then take that +1 and send that into the call. And so then it should retrieve the parameter values for zoom or blur. So go ahead and just put a message really quick just to see what those look like. So if I go to zoom, there's the parameter values for zoom. And if I go to blur, there's the parameter values for blur. So this is a way you can dynamically update your titles for these sliders. So if I wanted to actually set everything up to actually change these titles in the comments here, all I have to do is I have to unpack. Whoops. No. There we go. Ooh, now I should double check to make sure it still has it stored, and it doesn't. Here's the thing also to make sure that things get stored. Once you got it stored, actually, add the word embed1 at embed1 at embed1, and then it will actually store those data values with this call. Otherwise, it'll work fine now, but as soon as I save it and close the file and then reopen it, all those parameter values are gone, unless I hit this button again. You know, this message here, which would re-put them in there. So I could do it that way. I could put a load bang here and have it, when I open the file, it automatically populates it with this. But once I put this embed 1, I won't need this load bang because it will automatically save it with it. Where was I? Oh, right. So we need to get this to all 3 of these comment boxes. What's coming out is a single list of values, right? Amount, xset, you know. So how do I break up a list into its constituent parts? Does anybody remember? Unpack, that's right. Unpack. And there are 3 different symbols. We're treating them as symbols, so we can just say unpack S, S, S. S is short for symbol. So the first symbol will come out, and then we need to have each one of those go into a prepend set. And that one goes into the first comment box. Make sure you're not putting it into the slider. We'll need another prepend set for the second one, and a third prepend set for the last one. And then make sure to hook the second one up to the second comment box and the third one up to the last comment box. And now if I go to blur, nothing happens. Why? Zoom, that worked. Blur, oh, now it's working. I just had to cycle through it. And now it's dynamically changing those titles. So I can use that for the model, use the model view controller paradigm to have this one set of sliders control different effects. So that's all well and good, but I need to actually have these sliders data go somewhere. All we're doing right now is changing these titles, but we haven't done anything with changing the data. So how do we make a data from, or values go to different places? Yours isn't working? What isn't working? It's not updating. Double click in your param and your call and make sure that there's something in your call. Is there anything in your call? And it still doesn't work?
Mine works.
Yours works? Does yours not work, Jonathan? Yeah, make sure you populate your call with values by doing this. It probably, you know, when you added that embed 1, it erased everything that was in the call. Make sure you use this message right here. That's how you, or you can type the values into the text editor. When you quit, if you make a change to it, when you quit, you should say yeah. But make sure you have the, yeah. Is it working or? Okay. So this, that should, yeah, that's right, it's there. Probably you had more than one of these open. Is this the same thing or is that something else? Oh, okay. So, sorry. All right. It should work now. It should work.
Double click your call.
It's working. So if we, that's working now. It's working. It was just you had multiple of these text editors open, and I think something got confused. You might have been editing the wrong text editor or something like that. Yeah. Yours isn't working? All right, let's see. Well, first of all, you don't have anything in your U menu, right? To get things into it, you had to go down to menu items, hit edit, was what, zoom,
I think it's.
comma, blur. Anybody else? You guys having problems?
Yeah, it's not.
All right. Go into your, double click on your param call. Okay, that's fine. Just click something there. It's not updating anything, huh? Oh, I see what you're doing. No, so that you only hit that into there once, and then this needs to actually go directly into the call, not into your message. Unhook that +1 from your message and send that +1 into directly into the call. The +1 goes into the call. Yeah, the message you only ever have to hit that once. Okay. All right. So we have to actually have a way of routing this data to different places. And there's two different ways we could do that. We could do it with gates, or you could do it with some kind of index symbol that we route out on the other end. So let me show you the first way. We could use the number here, this number, to not only send a number index value into this call, but also set positions of gates. So a gate, I think previously we've only used the gate as a way of turning something on and off. But you can actually have, if you put some arguments in gate, you can make it have more than one outlet. If you just put gate without any arguments, it's by default only has one outlet, and you just turn it, it's either on or it's off. But you can have gate 2, and now it has 2 outlets, and by default, both outlets are closed. See, currently closed, currently closed. If I put a second argument, it's whichever, I can set an initial state. So I want the first outlet to be open, and then if we send a 2, then it will open the second outlet. So currently this one's now open, second outlet's currently closed. If I send a 2 in it into this gate, now 2 is open and 1 is closed. If I wanted them both to be closed, I could send a 0 into it, and that would close both of them. But we don't need them both to be closed. What we want to do is take this +1 and send it in here, right? Yeah. That way, if you choose zoom, this gate will be open and that one is closed. And if I choose blur, then this gate is open, gate 2, and 1 is closed because I'm sending a 2 into it now. Make sense? So I can have 3 of these gates. And actually, to keep this from getting really muddy, I'm going to do a send and receive here. Let's do a send up here. Send gate posts, gate position. And duplicate this and receive gate posts. Two more of these gates. One for each of these sliders, basically. Send the gate post into the first inlet. The second inlet, the right inlet, is the actual signal coming in incoming gated messages. So I can take the output from the slider, send it into that one, send it into that one, send this one into that one. Let me move these to try and make this a little cleaner. Yeah. Ah. How did I send what? And then you could have like two different sends here. Send to Zoom and a send to Blur. And then you could have different receives somewhere else that's receiving these. Oh wait, I never did outputs on these. So I have to actually send the outputs of this one. I did one of them, but not all of them. So these would get sent to Blur. Right? That's cool, but actually this is going to cause problems because there's nothing distinguishing these slider values from each other, right? This is only sending a value between 0 and 127, and we're all sending it all to the same Zoom and Blur. So, and I just realized this, we're going to have to add indices anyway to these values. So it doesn't even make sense to do this gate thing because I'm going to have to do the same thing anyway. So actually, let's just delete this. I'm going to take this out of the example because it's just a waste of time. We're going to do the other method, which is adding an index word because we have to actually add two different index words, I just realized. One for the slider and one for where it's going. So we can take this, and we don't need this gate position anymore. But we can take the second outlet of this U menu, which is the actual menu item of text evaluated as a message. And we can use that to add an index word before these data values. So we can say send, let's see here. Okay, just we need a prepend set. This is taking a lot longer than I thought it would today. We're not going to get nearly as far as I thought. That's all right. There's a lot of people that aren't here today, so this will be a reprieve for them. So take this second outlet and send it into this prepend set. What did I do? Get out of there. And then you can basically, we'll just have a POC object, POC symbol, which is that symbol that we're going to add as an index value, and then the three values. And oh, I just realized I don't really need to have more than one of these adding symbols. We only need to add the one symbol. This is good. Okay, so so basically, and the reason why I use the POC instead of a pack is what? It sends a value no matter which input is changed. So if and because the first input is actually this symbol, and that's not going to change very often, you know, we need it to output if you change any of these sliders. So that's why we use a POC. And by putting this prepend set, we're actually overriding the output of the object because we don't want the object to output until we don't want it to output just because we changed modes. We want it to output when we change a slider value. So prepend. So that's what set. So adding the word set before this word blur makes this not output its symbol until we change a slider value. So if I go to change this to zoom or something else, you can see nothing is coming out of this POC, but I haven't connected these. Go ahead and connect the slider outlets to the other inlets of this POC object. Now go ahead and change your slider value, and now it's sending out the values with preceded by the word zoom. And what we can do on the other end, we can route for the word zoom, and so then it will spit out those values on the other end. I'll just show you that really quick. So route. So in your other, your external patcher or whatever, you would have route zoom. Whoops. So this is actually, we need to send this into a send slider values, and then receive the slider values over here. We can route zoom, and also we can put more than one argument here. Route zoom and also route blur. And so if you hover over the outlets on these, it tells you what they do now. Outputs if input matches zoom. Outputs if input matches blur. And the third output is doesn't match. If the input doesn't match either of those, then it comes out that output. So have a couple message boxes here and change this to something else. And go ahead and change the slider value. And you can see now I get these three values coming out of blur, receives if blur. And if I change this to zoom and now move a slider around, now these values are coming out the zoom side. One bug that I just realized with this is that if you're adjusting values for zoom and then you switch to blur and you move it out, the sliders don't store their previous value. So that's something, and I don't have time to figure that out right now. I didn't anticipate that. I'll add that as a bonus next class. Yeah, question.
That's connecting to the sliders, right?
Yes. So yeah, the output of each of these sliders is going into the input of the POC.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I just am not getting any.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
Did you use a PAC instead of a POC?
I used a PAK.
Okay. And did you have? All right. Let me see. Did you connect it to the comment instead of the slider by accident?
I moved the comments so that I could double check it.
All right. Let's see here. PAC symbol 000. Yeah, it should. Yeah, it's working.
It's just not showing up there.
Oh, right. It's not showing up here because you didn't put it on that inlet. Make sure this is working. Yeah. Anybody else having problems?
Yeah, mine's not outputting a message either.
All right, let's take a look at what you got going on here. Unlock. Looks like, no, that's right. So that's not it. I think it is. I think you have the same problem where this is just not
Oops.
on that. But let me put your titles back the way they were. And then I'll fix this.
You sure?
I think that's the only thing that's going on as far as
And Mark is heading up.
being able to
Ah, damn it.
Of course.
I was really hoping this would be really hard, but okay.
So right now,
And then
it's
don't
really-
forget over here,
really huge
route, instead of, you put a capital letter in the zoom, so make sure you put the capital over here. And then also, we're also routing for blur.
Yeah.
Did you put a capital in the blur also?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now zoom will come out, and then again, you put it in the wrong inlet for being able to view this message.
Alright, so to view a message has to be in the right
In the right inlet, yeah.
because right to left, bottom to top. Okay.
Well, it's just because that's what it does. If you hover over it, it says message, set the message without the output.
Okay.
Yeah. So that should now, if we change this to blur, move these around.
Okay. Alright,
alert comes out there, and Zoom comes out there. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So we've got about 5 minutes. What do I want to show you? I want to show you how you can have these set to send to different computers on a network. And it also, you don't have to use this on a different network. You can actually just use it on your local machine also. So if you are on a local machine, you can use receives, and they will talk to each other if you have different patches open. But if you build, I believe if you build your patchers into separate applications, which I didn't have a chance to go over today because we ran out of time. We'll go over that next week. You can actually build your patchers as little applications that people can run on a computer if they don't have Macs. I believe if you have them built that way, they can't, the sends and receives in separate apps can't talk to each other. There's a way to get around that. And I want you guys to use separate applications, so I have to show you this method of making it talk. And incidentally, it's also the way to make things on different computers talk together, which will become very useful if you're trying to connect various systems together. So, and that is by using UDP send. You can send data packets over a network by using the UDP protocol. So the object is called UDP send, and then you have to give it an argument of where you're sending it, so and then what port. So this could be an IP address if you're sending it to a different computer. It could be it would usually be some kind of local address like 10.10.10.1 or something like 192.168. 1 and then like 101 or something, some unique number, and then it's still yellow because I haven't given it a port yet. And then what port you're sending it to, like 10,000. There's a whole bunch of different ports. Most of the ports you can just use. There are a couple ports that you're not allowed to use because they're like reserved for specific kinds of traffic. Like I think you can't use port 80 because it's only for HTML or something like that. But you can use almost all your ports, and you can use these ports to basically do the same thing as the patcher arguments do in setting unique sends and receives. Yes, Seth.
So throughout this object, you can actually send signal from Macs into Arduino or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if they can receive UDP packets. I think with Arduino, there's a specific. You have to send it as like a serial data of some sort. I can't remember exactly. There is some specifics into how to format messages for Arduino that I don't know if this is the right object for it. I have to look into it. I don't know for a fact. But this is definitely a way to talk between different Max patches with UDP. There are some other external objects that you can get that will send different types of data other than UDP, like TCP if you needed to send TCP IP data. But we're going to mostly use UDP because it's the easiest. So that's one way of doing it. If you needed a real address, sent to IP address. But if you're just doing it, if they're both on the same computer, UDP send, you can put, instead of putting the local host IP, which is like 127.0.0.1, you can just type local host, and that will automatically send it to this computer, the same computer that you're on, and then the port. So like 2000. So I have this UDP send, and then the receive object is the same thing, but it's UDP receive instead of UDP send. UDP receive localhost yada yada 2000. So anything I send in here should come out the other side. If I did it right. Why isn't that working? UDP send localhost. Maybe that port's no good. Let me try 10,000.
Are these ports unique numbers to Macs? Or these are just
They're unique numbers to the IP address. Why is that not working? Did I spell something wrong? Get rid of this one. Maybe is that affecting it? No. Why is this not working? This should work. I'm looking at my notes. 10,000. Receive 10,000. Does it work? Does it not work on your guys's also?
No.
All right. Let me try something else. Let me rate $1. Let me make it exactly like in my notes and see. I wanted to show you the test before I did this. And then I had a route over here. Rate. And then a float. No, it's definitely not working. That pisses me off. What did I do wrong?
Did you use 10,000 in your example?
I did, yeah, I did, and it worked before.
Yeah, I just tried 8,000, so it's not a port issue.
All right, let's try, oh my God, 192, oh wait, 120, what is it, 127, 0, 0, 1? Did that work for anybody? All right, hold on. Let me try to open my other class. Hold on. Well, it works here. What did I do wrong? Let me just grab this stuff, copy it in, and see if I can figure out what I did wrong over here. It looks the same to me, right? Well, I changed this from localhost. It works now.
Did you close the other window?
Oh, and it works over here. It's just this receive is, something's wrong with this received. If this receive is not receiving correctly. UDP receive, well, if I copy this UDP receive, bring it over. I must have typed something wrong. I don't know. This is really weird. Now it works fine. So is it still not work on your guys's? UDP send localhost 800. We'll try. And then we got to go. It's already 3 o'clock. UDP receive That is bizarre. I don't know why it works on one, it doesn't work on the other. If I send a test into this, do I get it on the other side? I should. Yes? Oh my God, I don't know what's wrong. There must be some difference between these that I'm not seeing. Wait a second. Oh wait, here's something. I didn't put localhost in this one.
Well, we all did, but it's not working for us though.
Yeah. Wait, I think it might. Oh, let's see here. No. The receive is. I don't know what's wrong. This send is now working. I can send the rate through this one or this one, and they're both working. But when I send and test works, but this receive won't receive. Oh wait, there is no local host. That's the difference. This UDP receive, you don't. I guess it's got a different syntax. I didn't notice. So UDP receive, and it's just the port. No. No local host. 10,000. All right. God damn it. Didn't notice that. Sorry. And it still doesn't work over here for whatever reason. I'm not getting my test. Maybe you can only have one UDP receive under that port. I don't know.
It's working.
It's working for you guys? Great.
Well, for me.
Just take out the local host on your UDP receive. It needs to look like this.
What?
There. Just needs to say the UDP send has to have local host, but the UDP receive just has the port of 10,000. Make sure it's the same. So, Bill, it's already past time. So let's quit for now. I'm going to put this on this will be part of the file that's on the website that I'll put up on the website. But basically, I was just going to show you how you can use this to send to different applications and stuff. And we'll continue building model view controller, movie mixer next week. We didn't really get a chance to even start it. So really, there's no homework except for catch up if you're behind. And then we'll just,
Yes.
yeah.